die.
Nothing can stop that now.
Star Wars is dead for now. Let me explain why. I'm not going to launch into a nerd rant about Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy or the female-led programs and films. Honestly, none of this helped the franchise, but let's be real, Star Wars has been dead since the prequels. I grew up in the 90s and Star Wars was an urban legend. I watched the films and liked them, they were fantastic. They took you to a galaxy far, far away and had a great world, great characters and amazing villains. The villains stole the show, Vader and Palpatine were excellent, and of course the plot twist, I am your father, was legendary. It was also the first time anyone had seen a sci-fi like it. It felt grand with lightsabers, the Force and creatures from all over the galaxy. The more I think about it, the better it gets. However, since the first 3 films we have seen other great sci-fi and fantasy trilogies. When the prequels came out, they were average at best, and that was the death of Star Wars. The world moved on. Star Wars wasn't impressive anymore. Star Wars was so impressive in the 70s and 80s, but if you didn't watch it in that moment, it doesn't have the same meaning. Star Wars is washed. It's like an old comedian doing the same jokes 40 years later. The world's moved on and so should they. Rest in peace, Star Wars. Stick to making great games and cartoons. The films are boring and ironically, the only force left in this saga is people forcing themselves to watch the rubbish that comes out every year. That's the harsh reality of the franchise. You can never recapture the audience like they did in the 70s. The prequels were the beginning of the end for Star Wars. Characters like Jar Jar Binks were not just annoying but embarrassing. Anakin Skywalker's transformation into Darth Vader was rushed and lacked the emotional depth it needed. The politics were convoluted and boring, and the romance between Anakin and Padme was awkward. I'm not a super fan of Star Wars, but I'm so bored of it now. I have not watched many of the series that have come out because I simply have no interest in the characters. The latest set of films were horrible. Rey was terrible. Not because she's a woman, but because she was the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, overcoming everything with ease, which bored us since there wasn't a single struggle for the character. The villains were rubbish. Adam Driver let himself down by taking the role of Kylo Ren. Snoke had potential, but that was taken away quickly with the worst death I've ever seen from a main villain. Terrible. Star Wars will always have its fans, but the latest shows like The Acolyte, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan Kenobi have bored people even more. The franchise is completely spent. All the good characters are dead or have been made to look stupid, and the villains are terrible at this point. Unfortunately, the best thing to come from Star Wars since the originals is Rogue One. No Jedi, no overuse of powers. It's basically a side quest led by normal people having normal battles. I enjoyed this film. The focus was on the story. Of course, it had plot holes and moments that didn't make sense or were bad, but overall I enjoyed it. So that's one film in 40 years that was decent. That's why the brand Star Wars is dead. The universe is big, but the reality is the original trilogy finished all of the story arcs and there wasn't much more to rinse out of the franchise, really. Just like Lord of the Rings, the trilogy covered everything, and now it's all rubbish that they are making. Star Wars is basically a myth at this point. If you are younger than 30 years old, this franchise has always been garbage for you. Nothing has been groundbreaking because we have seen it all before. The plot twists, other sci-fi, better CGI, etc. Don't waste your time or money anymore, folks. It's over. It's all about the Dune trilogy now, apparently. Let me know what you think in the comments below and drop a like if you enjoyed the content. Until next time, peace out.